Hey guys, it's Devon. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited just because this has been such a whirlwind of excitement for me. I've always wanted to be a mom, and if you don't know by now, I am pregnant. I just announced, and I'm so excited to be expecting my first child with Johnny. I wanted to film a vlog for you guys today, kind of about my experience and my journey into motherhood and to pregnancy. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with anything that has to do with this, but if you have no interest, then just skip over this vlog because it's basically going to be all about just like what we did to get pregnant and how the journey went, how long it took us, and yeah, so. For Johnny and I, we knew we always wanted kids. I've always wanted kids my whole life. I grew up wanting to be a mom basically for as long as I can remember. So I knew that once Johnny and I got married, we had always said roughly about a year after our wedding, which was November 2019. So we said, okay, we want to enjoy being married for a year and then we'll start to want to have kids. Well, long story short, you can't predict what life will throw at you, and obviously COVID happened, and that happened March 2020, which was like a year, no, not even a year after we got married. Like, what am I saying? A few months after we got married. So in the beginning of COVID, I didn't really think much of it because obviously we weren't sure how long things would last and if it would be like a long thing or whatever. We had wedding plans for friends to travel that year, and the idea of having a baby in the beginning of COVID was still like non-existent. Like we were like set on waiting that year out. We were thinking like 2021 would be our year to kind of start trying. And Winston is here. Say hello. So anyways, fast forward to May 2020 of last year when COVID really set in. Obviously, modeling slowed down, work slowed down, travel slowed down, plans got canceled, and the itch for having a baby really kind of started to consume me. I was like, okay, I don't want to wait a year. I feel like for us, this is like a great time to have a baby just because we're in one place, which never happens. I usually don't go more than a few weeks without traveling at a time. So I was like, this is like the perfect year for us to possibly have a baby, which my doctor was a little bit not sure about. She was like, you realize we're in a pandemic? And I was like, yes, but like for me, this is like a great time just because I'm a model and yada, yada, yada. Long story short, I end up deciding to go off the pill in May. And this, if you guys have seen my acne vlog, which was a few videos before this, was the start of my hormonal acne and just hormonal imbalance in general. I had never really experienced hormonal imbalances, irregular periods. Like I've always had a regular period, even pre-birth control, but I did go on birth control when I was like 15. So I had been on it like 11 years. So I was like, I spoke to Johnny and I was like, I think that I should go off it, at least normalize my cycle. Like maybe we won't have a baby right now, but like, who knows what's gonna happen to my body when I go off the pill because I've been on it for so long. So he was like, I agree, like let's normalize your body because you've been on so many drugs. So I stopped the birth control and I stopped something called spironolactone, which was a water pill that helps with acne. Again, I talked about this in my acne vlog. So I was on both of those for a really long time, like 11 years. So my doctor told me to go off both of them. She's like, if you're gonna start trying to have a baby, like you can't be on spironolactone either. So I cut cold turkey, the pill and Spiro at the exact same time in May. And the first month, right when I stopped the pill, I got a period, but I then later learned that that wasn't like a real period. It was actually, it's called like a withdrawal period, or like just like your body being forced to get a period. It's not like a real cycle. But I didn't know that. So I was assuming like, okay, I got my period. And then like I downloaded the Flow app and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna start tracking and like see my cycles. Well, after that first period, my body didn't get a period after that. Like the next month I didn't get one. And then I called my doctor and she was like, okay, it can take a while to normalize. So like wait a few months. So I waited another month, and then I was like getting annoyed because then it was July and I was like, okay, it's now July. Like I don't want to keep waiting. Obviously and 2 months had passed. So 2 months for me was like, I wanted a baby and I was like really wanting to like start trying. And then like 2 months later, I was like really wanting that baby. So in those 2 months, like when you start to try, I feel like I was like really involved and invested at that point. There was no half trying. It wasn't like, let's just have fun and dabble in this. Like I was like, okay, I want this now. So I was like, I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Like this can take up to a year. Sometimes people can take up to a year for their cycles to regulate and so on. So my doctor suggested that I go on progesterone for 10 days. It was 10 days and to kick-start my cycle. So I believe I was on like day 8 or 9 or 10 of that. 8 or 9 or 10 of that, like towards the end, and I got my period. And I was like, awesome, because she was like, if you don't get your period after this, like it's a bit of a concern. Like we'll have to look more into like what's going on. So I was like, okay, very relieved that I got my period from the progesterone. So like obviously if I got enough progesterone in my body, like I could have a period. So that was good news. And I also had gone in for an internal ultrasound where they just kind of check out internally your uterus, your ovaries, your tubes, whatever, all that good stuff. And they actually found a bunch of tiny little cysts all over my ovaries, which to me was concerning and shocking, although my doctor was like, this is not something to be concerned about. This is very normal for somebody that's been on the pill for a long time and like whatnot. So I was worried, but she wasn't, which gave me like, relaxed me a bit. She was like, your body needs to like get back into the flow of things. And if there's no like large cysts, it's not to be concerned. So I was like, okay, I have some cysts, but my period's back. And I actually, after that, got my period every month after that. It was a little bit, like I had very long cycles, like 38 days, 35 days, but it was continuously like once a month, whether it was a longer month or not. So that was actually really good. Even though I was worried about it because I always had it very regularly, I was like, this is so not normal. But it also made it difficult for tracking because if you know anything about conceiving or ovulation, usually you ovulate around like day 14-ish. That's just like on average. And usually ovulate around the same time every month. But for me, my cycles were irregular, so I could ovulate on like day 10, day 15, day 20, day 25. Like I'd ovulate very late according to these little ovulation strips that you pee on and you test when you ovulate. Maybe too TMI for you guys, but I did do those ovulation strips for a long time. And that's actually one of the reasons, actually I forgot to mention, was in those, starting in May, I decided to do those ovulation strips because I was curious to see, because I've heard that you can still ovulate while you're not getting your period. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I heard. So I was like, let me test and see if I'm even ovulating. Realized that I wasn't even really ovulating. So that's why I was like concerned about kind of getting my cycle back up and running. And yeah, so July was when I got my period back. My acne started flaring up really bad in July. Well, not actually really bad in July. It didn't get really bad till like August, September, but I thought it was really bad. But so Johnny and I continued to try and like had a good time trying. It was all very exciting, but still like disappointing. Like every month I actually only tested once, and that was like the first month I went off birth control because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be pregnant this month because I'm, you know, not trying to get pregnant. So I took one test, but I had never tested every month, which it was just like depressing to like pee on a stick every month and then see a negative. Like I would have rather just, I preferred to wait and see if my period came, which it always did. So we continued to try and kind of for months and months and months, and then fast forward when it was November, and I started to get more frustrated with the process because my cycles were still irregular, like they were longer and shorter, and I'd be ovulating really late in the cycle, and it was just like very confusing. And I started to just get concerned, and my doctor had mentioned that with my severe cystic acne, that I very much could have a mild form of PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Considering I had the cysts on my ovaries and the acne, there's a lot of other symptoms that people have for PCOS, although it's very hard to like formally diagnose apparently, but she was like, you likely have a very mild form of PCOS. Of course, that got me started on Googling all the things about PCOS, how it makes it much harder to conceive. And it was just really frustrating and upsetting because I was like, great, this is not gonna be an easy journey for me if I have PCOS, because I've heard all these stories about people struggling with PCOS. So I was a little concerned. And she was like, I get that you're a type A personality, and if you would like to go see a fertility specialist, you know, you've only been trying like 5 months, but if you'd like to see a fertility specialist just to check everything out, I can totally set that up for you. And I was like, obviously it's a little too early. Usually you wait 6 months, at least, not even, actually usually you wait a year to even see a fertility specialist, but I'm like crazy and very type A, and I like to just like know what's happening at all times. So I was like, if there's a problem, I want to diagnose it early. I don't want to like try for another year and then figure it out. So screw it. I'm going to go to this fertility specialist, which when I got back from my 1-year anniversary in November is when I saw the fertility specialist. He went in, did the ultrasound, saw a few cysts, did some blood work, you know, was like, it looks like you have mild PCOS. You may or may not need my help to get pregnant. And I was like, I'm not interested in talking about like in vitro or IUIs or like anything at this moment because we haven't been trying that long, but I just want to like be checked out. So they can do different tests, like they can like inject ink in your tubes, make sure your tubes are open. They test like the male, like all these different tests. So I was going to do those. I was like, okay, let's just do these tests and make sure like my tubes are open and whatever. Johnny's little spermies are working. So we had scheduled in early December to get a few more tests done. And in the interim, I also had heard from a friend how beneficial acupuncture could be for not only my cystic acne, which was really, really bad at the time, but also just like regulating your periods, your hormones, whatever. So at that same time, I started acupuncture, which I have spoke about. I love her. She is amazing. She immediately recommended that I don't have smoothies every morning, that I don't have cold food, I don't have raw food, I don't have like non-cooked vegetables. She wants everything cooked, everything warm. Very weird because I had never heard this in my life, but like keep your feet warm, all of these concepts on how they can screw with your hormones, your acne, your cycles, all of that, like help with fertility, all these things. So I immediately changed my diet from smoothies to like toast in the mornings, tried to have more cooked vegetables, no raw juices. I was having like celery juice every morning. So she started me on that change in my diet and also the acupuncture. And so yeah, I started that around the same time that I saw this fertility guy. And my friend also had told me that she went to an acupuncturist and she wasn't getting normal cycles. Like she wasn't ovulating really every month, but then she did it a few times and like within that first cycle, she like started ovulating. So I was like, wow, this might actually, there might be something to this. That's why I really was like, let me check it out. And I was just desperate also for my face because my skin was really bad. So anyways, did acupuncture, signed up for these tests to be done in early December. And then literally the week of the tests, I got COVID, which sucked. COVID sucked. I then gave it to my husband. So we had it for 2 weeks in early December. And I was like, okay, well, this year's done. I go home for Christmas, like December 20th or 21st. Then we're gonna do something for New Year's, then we're gonna come back, and then I'll start fresh 2021. Like this is a done month. I'm gonna kind of forget that this ever happened. I can't do the tests. It was just not on my mind. So I was like, great, this month's done. Long story short, I recovered from COVID. Like the day or literally the day before I went home for Christmas, I was still testing my ovulation strips. I had also bought my friend told me to buy this thing called Mira, which is like a more specific ovulation test method where it tells you like the number versus just like the 2 lines. It's like, I'll link these things below for you guys, but yeah, it tells you like a specific number in this like device. So I was doing that, and that was the first month I tried that, and my thing spiked, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. So we just acted as we were every other month, and I didn't think much of it because I was just like, whatever, this month is over, but whatever, let's try. So at that point, I was doing those ovulations pee strips and this Mira pee thing at the same time. And I also had this other app. I didn't end up loving the Flow app. I downloaded this other app called Thermometer, which is you test your temperature every morning because something's to do with like after you ovulate, your temperature goes up and then stays up. It's very interesting, but anyways, you can test your temperature every morning. It puts it in the app and tracks it, and then you can also plug in your like ovulation stuff. And so since my cycles were irregular, this app kind of like generated new cycles for me in a better way, because Flow just kept giving like the average cycle versus this was seeing like at what day I was ovulating and then like applying that to the next month. I don't know. I just prefer this other app. So I was using that app as well and taking my temperature. I have been doing that for months, so that wasn't anything special. And then I also, because of COVID, I was taking tons and tons of vitamins. And also I don't know if this is baloney, okay? Don't come after me, but I saw on TikTok this whole thing about Mucinix and it being a mucus thinner and that it can help you get pregnant. Not a doctor, but looked it up and there was like some truth behind it. Some people said it was baloney. You can look it up. But anyways, I had some because Johnny was like, had sinus issues during his COVID situation. So I was like, okay, screw it, let me take this the week that I was ovulating. So I took it the week I was ovulating as well. But I'm still telling you, in my head, I was like, this month is not happening. Like my eggs were not in this basket, but I was just like, screw it, let's try this since this month is a no-go. Anyways, so yeah, I went home for Christmas, drank, ate whatever, was having the best time. We went away for New Year's, same thing, drank all day, ate whatever I wanted, had the best time, wasn't thinking much of anything really. And was like, okay, when I get back, I'm gonna start fresh, call this doctor back and redo everything. And yeah, so I was like disappointed, but was over it. It's actually funny because my acupuncturist before I left was like, maybe you'll come back pregnant. And I was like, what an odd thing to say to somebody who's trying to get pregnant, right? Because like, you don't really put that in someone's head if you don't really mean it. Anyway, so she said that, and she was like, she was very calming in the sense that she was like, your cycles aren't irregular. If they're coming every month, it's regular. Like you were on birth control for 11 years. Like this is very normal. And the fact that you're getting a cycle every month is very good. Like it takes people years sometimes to get it back. So she was very positive, and I was like, she kind of kept me afloat in the situation that like I had more hope. Sometimes like after seeing doctors, I'd leave like very confused. Anyways, so I come back from my trip, which if you saw my last video on how I found out, and we found out we were pregnant. I was like very emotional sometimes throughout the trip, and people kept mentioning it to me, Johnny's family, and I was like, this is not the month, like I'm not pregnant this month, but people kept being like, maybe you're pregnant, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I ended up being pregnant. Well, I found out at 4 weeks, which is like basically the earliest you can find out, but I was pregnant, which was so shocking. I was honestly shocked because I thought it would take much longer because I had this whole thing in my mind of like, okay, it's gonna take a while. Like my skin is fucked up. This doctor, excuse my language, this natural doctor actually that I spoke to, one of my mom's friends where she works was like, oh, she has skin issues. I'll talk to her and see if it has to do with her gut health and whatever. And she had some insight, but one of the things she said was like, I told her I was trying to get pregnant, and she was like, you are never gonna get pregnant if your skin looks like that. And I remember like nearly crying when I hung up the phone. I was like, what? So I really expected this to take longer. and what, it was only about, it was like 8 months of wanting it or 7 months of wanting it, but really like 5 or 6 months of actually being able to try because my cycles were irregular, but which is short, I've learned in the interim, but it felt like a lifetime. So, but I was really just expecting it to take longer. And I think that I was so surprised when I found out. I was like so scared that it was too good to be true kind of thing. And I needed to like go get my blood tests. And like, I actually have another video that I'm gonna upload where it's like the first few weeks of being pregnant, where I go in to like get my first blood test for my HCG levels, and then the second one, and then like the first ultrasound. And I was just like, had so much anxiety going in every time, thinking like they're not gonna find something or something that isn't gonna be right. And it was a lot of stress and anxiety, but it's so much happiness. But like, I was just so scared it was too good to be true. But yeah, so that was my journey in becoming pregnant. I don't know if the Mucinix helped. I was also on Myocintal, which is what I had been on for a while because my doctor told me to go on that. It's like helps people with PCOS or just like regulating your cycles, I think. So I was on that as well, which I can link below. I was also on these 2 other supplements that I mentioned in my acne vlog, Liposol, glutathione, and acetal, which I will also link below. Those I was taking mainly for my like internal gut health, for my skin, but these are all things like supplements that I was taking just to kind of like cleanse my body, which I think cannot hurt in this situation. Just keeping yourself as healthy as possible. And I think another thing that went into this whole thing is that I had just ruled that month out of like not happening. And I think that's why it happened, was because every other month I was like counting down the days for like the period to come, and it was just so stressful. And I don't know, I kind of have a weird feeling that that's why I got pregnant. And also maybe God knew I was gonna get COVID in early December, and for some reason I didn't get pregnant before that because I was gonna get COVID, and that's very scary. So I don't know, I believe in all these kind of crazy things, but long story short, I'm so excited to be pregnant. I hope that any of this information is helping someone out there, or maybe if you're struggling with PCOS or acne or whatever it is. My top recommendation is 1, to obviously see a doctor, but 2, I really would check out acupuncture, because I am a really big believer that this acupuncturist helped me get pregnant and help clear my skin, but really helped me get pregnant. So yeah, that's it. Those are my biggest tips. Try Mucinix for a month and see what you think. I mean, it might all be baloney, but that's just what worked for me on that month, on that cycle. And yeah, a little baby coming in September. So anyways, if you liked the video, give it a little thumbs up, subscribe so I know you guys are liking this content. And yeah, I'll show you my little baby bump. It's pretty small now. It's like, it's so low, actually, it's funny. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm so excited to be going along this journey with you. And I hope that any of this information helps somebody out there. So see you guys next time.